In recent months, reports have been appearing with increasing frequency that the German automotive industry is experiencing perhaps the deepest crisis in its entire history. Not long ago, brands such as Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Porsche were considered symbols of quality, reliability, and technological leadership. But now even the German media themselves are sounding alarming forecasts. According to Handelsblatt, the volume of car exports from Germany to key markets is falling at record speed, and the reason lies not only in the global transformation of the auto industry, but also in unprecedented external pressure. China, which just 10 years ago was considered the main market for German cars, has now become their chief competitor and systemic rival. Chinese auto giants BYD, Geely, and NIO are rapidly increasing exports and aggressively seizing markets, offering electric vehicles that are cheaper and often technologically more attractive than their German counterparts. Experts at Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung note that Beijing acts methodically. It subsidizes its own manufacturers, grants them benefits in the domestic market, and at the same time pushes out foreign brands by creating barriers to imports. German corporations have found themselves in a trap. Their business model is built on expensive cars, while global demand is shifting towards affordable electric vehicles with intelligent control systems, and it is precisely here that China is taking all the positions. But the real blow for Germany came not only from China's advance, but also from the position of its main ally, the United States. Donald Trump, speaking at one of the economic forums, bluntly stated that the Germans have been making money off the American market for decades, and it's time to stop. The White House introduced new tariffs on car imports from the European Union, and Germany has suffered the most. According to estimates by the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, Trump's tariffs nullify all of Berlin's efforts to preserve competitiveness. And now each car produced in Germany ends up costing American buyers thousands of dollars more. And this is happening just as Chinese electric vehicles are beginning to penetrate even the United States itself through third-party markets. In Brussels and Berlin, they had counted on Washington's support, but instead received a trade war, which means a stab in the back. More and more analysts are writing that the German economy is on the brink of a systemic crisis. The share of the auto industry in Germany's GDP exceeds 10%, and if the sector collapses, the consequences will be catastrophic for the entire country. Inside Germany itself, rumors are already circulating about possible negotiations with Chinese companies. Allegedly, BYD and SAIC have expressed interest in strategic investments, or even in acquiring certain brands. Insiders cited by Bloomberg claim that the Chinese are ready to provide assistance in exchange for stakes in the corporations. But experts warn, trusting Beijing in such a situation is extremely dangerous, since control of German brands in Chinese hands could mean the de facto end of the industry's independence. Behind the scenes of the European Commission, there is already talk that if Germany does not find a way out in the coming years, it could lose its automotive industry, just as Britain once lost its industry by allowing foreign corporations to buy up key companies. Meanwhile, American tariffs continue to strangle German exports, while China strengthens its position with each passing month. The automotive market is the litmus test of the entire German economy, and it is collapsing faster than any other sector. If German manufacturers are unable to offer the world affordable and truly innovative electric vehicles in the coming years, the bankruptcy of leading brands will cease to be a fantasy and will become an inevitable reality. All this turns Germany's future into a high-stakes gamble, where what is at stake is not just cars, but the fate of the entire national industry. A particularly alarming signal has been the fact that even within Germany itself, voices are beginning to speak of a possible end of the era of the German automotive industry. Journalists at Süddeutsche Zeitung published an article in which former top managers of major corporations admitted that just 5 years ago, no one could have imagined German brands falling into the role of followers. Yet today, that is precisely the reality. Germans have always taken pride in their engineering tradition, build quality, and long-standing heritage. But these arguments no longer carry weight in a world where the key factors are price and the innovativeness of software. Chinese electric vehicles integrate the most advanced systems of autopilot, artificial intelligence, and digital ecosystems, which for buyers are becoming more important than the emblem on the hood. According to the IFO Research Center, young consumers in Europe and Asia are increasingly choosing Chinese brands over Mercedes or Audi because German cars are morally outdated. Even in the German domestic market, the share of foreign electric cars has more than doubled in the past 2 years, something Berlin is calling a quiet revolution. Moreover, the situation is compounded by Germany's internal problems: rising energy prices, declining industrial production, and massive capital outflows. The auto industry, dependent on cheap energy and stable supplies, is becoming the first victim of the crisis. It is no coincidence that the Financial Times recently wrote that Germany risks turning from the industrial heart of Europe into its weak link. All this is happening against the backdrop of rumors that China is ready to play its final move, not simply to drive German companies out of global markets, but to enter these corporations under the guise of assistance, stripping Germany of its last trump card. Politicians in Berlin increasingly speak of strategic autonomy, but experts question whether Germany has enough time left to save itself. Or is everything already predetermined, with the era of Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes destined to remain in history just as Britain once lost Rover, and as Saab and Pontiac disappeared in the United States? If the trend continues, the coming years will be the most dramatic in the history of German car making, and they will decide whether Germany remains an industrial leader or becomes merely a sales market for Chinese cars. Meanwhile, in the United States itself, voices are growing louder that Trump's tariffs are only the first step and that the White House intends to tighten its policy toward Europe even further. According to the Wall Street Journal, the administration is discussing new tariff barriers on the supply of components from Germany, including auto parts and high-tech modules. For German industry, this is extremely dangerous, as many companies earn not only from selling finished cars, but also from supplying parts to American assembly plants. Now, even this market could be closed off. At the same time, tensions are rising within the European Union. France and Italy, tired of Germany's constant dominance, are in no hurry to support it in the trade war, and are even using the moment to strengthen the positions of their own car manufacturers. Analysts at Politico write that the crisis in the German automotive sector has revealed deep contradictions within the EU. Brussels may declare unity, but in practice, everyone looks out for themselves. As a result, Germany finds itself in complete isolation, without US support, under pressure from China, and without solidarity from its European neighbors. Against this backdrop, more and more investors are pulling capital out of German corporations. Volkswagen and BMW shares have declined in double digits in recent months, and insiders speaking to Reuters admit that internal company forecasts are becoming catastrophic. Hedge funds are betting on a decline, and German banks are forced to cut credit lines to automakers, fearing future bankruptcies. Some experts are already comparing the situation to 2008, when Lehman Brothers collapsed. But now, according to them, the risk is that an entire industry, one that provides millions of jobs and underpins the economy of an entire country, could collapse. If that happens, the consequences will extend far beyond Germany. The entire European Union could face a new wave of recession.